Okay, so to continue this piece, just for a little bit longer, I'm hoping that you've got some ideas there that you, again, can circle back to, whether they go into your goals, whether they go into your evaluation spotlight at the end of today. But I want to think, I know Michelle said that it was really important that you get your team to do this exercise. I think I think this is I'd already put this in today's workshop, because I think it's really important that you do this. You could do it with the online tool on Tony Robbins' site. Personally, I actually think this is a better way of doing it, because what I think you'll get is those numbers. If you see a trend of all of your employees have got really low certainty, that's where you need to work on, isn't it? Or if you're feeling like actually they're not getting their contribution, but equally play around with it. I think, did I get you guys to do the human needs online tool once? I think I did, but I don't recall it actually generating as good as an idea as just sitting and thinking about it. So either way, play around with that. But I think, like Michelle says, it's a really powerful thing to get your team to do. How I want to do this is I want to get to now take this back to the ideal client concept and start thinking about what are the 6 human needs of our ideal client, and how can we market to their 6 human needs? Because if we do that, we can again make our marketing way, way, way more impactful. And there's a few things that we can do around this. So the first thing I would think about is, in any written communication, you want to be thinking about the fact that your clients have 6 human needs. How can what you present in writing or in a video or whatever it is, how can you deliver something that will satisfy each of those human needs? So I actually continually go back to Charlotte and say, great article, but have we dealt with all of the 6 human needs? It's like, right, okay, well, yes, we've got certainty in here. So if we're talking about retirement, right, okay, how can we make sure that we're talking about the cash flow forecast giving you the certainty you're not going to run out of money? Uncertainty. We want to talk about the bucket list and how, creating an amazing lifetime full of purpose and variety is really important. Significance. Talk about the fact that they're going to lose their significance when they pack up work, but how you can regain it through purpose and having a purpose and reason to get out of bed. Connection. Building that tribe that, you're going to lose the people that you've worked with, so you're going to need to create that tribe. Growth. How are you going to make sure your brain is still as a muscle? You got to, if you use it or lose it. So how are you going to still maintain growth in retirement? And contribution. How are you going to give back? Is it to the community? Is it back to your sector? Is it to your family? If you kind of talk about that in your marketing, you can get people buying into it again. Because each of us have different priorities in our human needs. Some are more important than others. And if you're ticking all 6 in a communication, if their primary driver is certainty, you've ticked that human need. If their primary driver is growth, on money, it might be growth in terms of just getting the money growing. That would be what would drive some people. Then you've ticked that human need. So I think that's a really important way to think about it. I want to just touch on a bit, because I think it ties in really nicely, a book called They Ask You Answer. I don't know if any of you, I know you've read it, Nitesh, because we've talked about it before. Anybody else read this book? They Ask You Answer. So this is about a guy who was running a swimming pool sales business in the US, and in the lead up to the credit crunch, it was having a nightmare in terms of really struggling. And he started a marketing campaign that essentially was summarized by that statement, they ask you answer. So it's like, what are the questions that my customers are asking, and how can I build my entire marketing around the questions they're asking? Because what do we do nowadays if we're stuck on something? Like, I don't know the answer to this, so I go to Google. We've learned to write the question into Google, or even better, we now do it into ChatGPT. But we ask the question and we get presented with the answer. So if you write an article that is how do I improve my nutrition as a triathlete, you get a whole load of articles about that. But if you've written an article going where the title is, how do you improve your nutrition as a triathlete, there's a very good chance that you're going to rank pretty high in that search. And that is exactly what we should be doing in our marketing. And that could be videos. Do you want to pick up on this?
Very, very quick one on for anyone who's looking. You should definitely do this for organic rankings. There is a website called Answer the Public. That is the one you want to go to get all of the common questions for your selected keyword or keywords. You put it in and it will give you a beautiful graphic showing you all of the who, what, where, when, how questions, and the density of the color represents the volume of search. So if it's a darker color, there's more people searching for that question. And then it goes through every single type of question that's related to either that word, keyword, or sector. And you get 2 free searches a day.
Thank you, Natasha. But you can answer the public. So if you combine that with ChatGPT and AI, essentially you could have an article for every one of those questions for that your ideal clients are asking. Exactly. And it could take you half a day. I mean, and that is that's what people are doing. But what's really incredible now is this stuff isn't just feeding into what you read online. We're starting to see a trend now more and more. I'm not a big fan of Alexa. I've got one, but it's in a drawer, turned off because I don't like the thing. I fall out with it. But a lot of people, when they want to ask a question, now just ask Alexa. So if this data is feeding into, you could ask, somebody could be stood in their kitchen going, right, how do I, as a triathlete, how do I improve my nutrition? And your article is what Alexa is pulling from and delivering. That becomes incredibly powerful.
Amazon are the only company that have kept their search algorithm hidden from the world. Google, Bing, Siri have all got clear guidelines on how your content can be optimized, indexed, and seen. Amazon have not shown anything.
And I suspect that's because they want it to be able to direct it to where they want it to. Yeah. But I think this is
No, because they're using a blend of all the search. And ultimately, if you as a user get the answer that you want, and it's a relatively accurate answer, the general populace accepts it to be true. Like many millions of entries on Wikipedia.
We do this work, or Wikipedia, blogs and so on. We've got one particular about emergency that we've got grayed out like almost like a Google answer. So the snippet and you actually provide us an answer.
That's powerful because that for Google Talk and for normally Bing and for definitely Siri is going to be. You say, "Okay, Google," and ask that question. Your answer will be the one that Google gets back.
So one of the things that I think this is, this is an area that we could obviously spend a lot of time talking about, but I think it's a brilliant book and it will prompt a lot of thinking about what the content is that your clients are asking. What are the questions they're asking? And there's a few things that I took away from this. I think I'm right in saying that he basically said, what he's trying to do is instead of the old adage of sell, 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 he's trying to get you doing help, help, help. And he basically talks about 5 critical topics, which are pricing, comparisons, reviews, problems, and best in class. So having read that book, when we were running Efficient Portfolio, the things that I took away from that were none of our competitors, not one financial advice business I could find, put their fees on the website. Nobody's brave enough to do it because everyone thinks, oh my God, the clients will see that and they'll go, that's really expensive. I'm not going to do anything. So we decided that we would be the one company that did publish all of our fees because we know that one of the questions every client asks is, so what are the fees? Why are you keeping? Why have I got to ask or why have I got to get in the meeting? Because we know that if somebody says, a 3% initial fee on an investment is too much and I'm not going to pay it, well, why are we spending flipping hours and hours building them a financial plan for them to find out that they're going to walk off and do it themselves? So basically we have a video on our website, which is us spending 10 minutes explaining how we would explain the fees to the client if they were sat in the room with us. And we use the same slide, and because They Ask You Answer says give comparisons, we would give comparisons. This is an old slide, but this was, right, okay, if you go direct to an investment manager and put it direct in their fund, that's what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to cost if you go to a restricted advisor, and this is what we're charging. And we're breaking it down to all the different levels. We're giving way more detail than these guys give. We're giving real clarity on the fees because we know that we're going to end up explaining this to the client anyway. So we might as well give them the information up front. But it creates so much trust in what we're doing. And also it saves, again, it comes back to this magnify principle. How many times do we explain to clients how the fees work? So now it's like, well, just watch this video. And we send it to them in the efficient plan. So if they've got questions around it, it's like, just watch the video. One of the other things that we did, well, They Ask You Answer tells you to talk about industry problems and things like, constant talking points. So we would continually reference back to commission and the difference between independent and tied. That was the things that we felt were the big things in the industry in terms of, we were a big believer in the importance of independence and why we went fee-based back in 2006 when I first met David. So we talked about that a lot because we know that people coming to our website are like, oh God, financial advisors, they're just going to sell us a product for a really high commission. And, so we're talking about it. The next thing is that he talks about in They Ask You Answer is about telling client stories. So in the same way that we've got you guys to do us video testimonials today, and hopefully some more will follow, that is telling the story of how you've come, what your concerns were before you came to us, what we've done, and how you've benefited as a result. And your clients could do the same thing. And this is probably the most watched page on our website, I suspect, because people like stories. After the team page, there you go. Do we trust the people? And now let's see what they did for other people. So you really want those video testimonials on your website, and on obviously any awards that you win, get those on as well. And then and then it's a question about just coming back to the phenomenal process and going, well, how can our phenomenal process solve their concerns? So that's one of the other things that you need to be explaining. And one of the things that we used to get talked about a bit was we would do a monthly article in the Rutland Living and the Rutland Pride, which were the lovely glossy magazine. We've got a few of them out there. And each time we'd alternate. So one would be just a set advert, and the alternate one would be an article about what we do and how we help people. And quite a few times over the years, people come to me, I can't believe how much information you give away for free. And there's a term in marketing which is move the free line. So you want to give away more free stuff than any of your competitors do, because the more free stuff you give them, the more they trust you, the more they buy into what you do, and the more they're going to come back to you. And with the advent of things like, Natesha's Asked the Public and then AI generating you the content, you can do it without it costing you loads of time. So that's an example of one of the articles that we did.